Hey everybody, Tristan Shuffles here, back with another Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel deck profile at long last. I was inspired to make this by all the cool fairy tale gameplay that we got to see at Nationals, especially in Genesis format, and I wanted to show off what the deck can do in Master Duel and how it can compete with the best of the best, even though some of its lines are pretty counterintuitive. So let's hop right in to the deck list. First of all, we've got great cards here, like Instant Fusion is finally back so that we can special summon the new Weaver of Fairy Tales or the Teller of Fairy Tales directly from the extra deck. Teller of Fairy Tales will have that negate active on your turn, and then you can special summon out a second copy through a regular fusion summon for your opponent's turn, with Tales of the Fairy Tales, which is an equip spell, which you'll generally be sending from your deck to the graveyard with Fairy Tale Wicket alongside either the classic Fairy Tale Snow or the new spell card Once Upon a Fairy Tale, because it'll reset itself when it's sent to the graveyard or banished from anywhere other than the field. Keeping that in mind, we also have Metamorphosis at 3, which means that any of our level 4 monsters can instantly become one of the two level 4 extra deck Fairy Tales, and this deck can be supported in its current form a lot by a Magistus engine that has 3 Spend to the Magistus Sealer, which I used in all of my recent decks, and Zora the Magistus of Flame, which can be a good backup normal summon and bridge you into the Fairy Tale part of the deck through Wicket if you don't draw Fairy Tale Luna right away. But you are going to want to try to get to Fairy Tale Luna as your 2 normal summons, and that's why I'm playing 3 copies of Fairy Tale Ball, and some additional flexibility with Magic Lacrima of Light, which, when your opponent responds to one of your plays with a hand trap card, allows you to special summon a Magistus or Witchcrafter directly from the deck. Additionally, you can activate it a second time. If you control a Magistus or Witchcrafter monster, send 1 Spellcaster monster or 1 spell from your deck to the graveyard. So that's another way to get Snow into the graveyard. Or generally, you'll send Witchcrafter Genny so that she can banish herself, and as a result, you can get an additional special summon because you're allowed to use Magic's second special summon from deck effect for free in exchange for that banishment, basically. Aside from that, we've got 2 Super Poly. I really wish this was still at 3, but it's the only way that you're going to be able to break a lot of the branded boards that you'll see right now. And the Kewl Tune boards, of course, are still popular, even with Rotary restricted to 1 copy. So I'm packing C Monster of Theseus. Yes, it's the greatest card of 2017, and 9 years later, it is actually useful because it's a good target when your opponent has 2 tuners on their field from their Kewl Tune and board. Aside from that, we also have Crowley the Gifted Magistus. This gives us some flexibility with our fusion summons, and Spenta can search for it, allowing you to get that fusion effect out there, so that you can bring out Iwas the Magistus Spell Spirit to try to break boards by taking control of your opponent's monster, or set up an additional negate in the form of Zoroa the Magistus Verathragna. And we've got Artemis the Magistus Moon Maiden, who gets us an extra search when it's equipped by Zoroa or Spenta's effect. And the Endymion the Crescent Magistus, which is a link to that allows you to put back a spellcaster from your graveyard and then bounce it back to hand. Unfortunately, you can't do that all in 1 turn, so it takes 2 turns, but it's going to be worth it. And of course, we have Triple Tactics Talent and Called by the Grave to punish our opponent if they try to use hand trap cards against us, along with the classic hand trap lineup of the Spellcaster Joel and Lockbird, which can come up sometimes when you're fusion summoning, and 3 Ash Blossom and 1 Maxi until this card is banned. And Nibiru the Primal Being, of course, can punish your opponent for overextending, and I think is a sleeper hit in the current format because Branded and Kewl Tune don't really have a way to play around this, and nobody is respecting that 5th summon that I found in the higher ranks. With that being said, I think it's so cool that you can turn your opponent's monsters into the Prince of Fairies with Fairy Tale Magigiru, and fusion summon using your opponent's cards without necessarily drawing super poly, and break their boards with the effect damage as well from Teller of Fairy Tales. So I know that's a lot of yapping, and what you're really here for is some gameplay, so let's get into those games. First up, we have a game against Radiant Typhoon where we are going first, and the opponent has totally given away what they're playing with those Mystical Space Typhoon sleeves. Let's start things off with Fairy Tale Ball to get our best normal summon, Fairy Tale Luna. Normal summoning that to add another copy to our hand. From there, we can special summon out Magic Guru now that we have an 1850 on field, adding the fusion spell Tales of the Fairy Tales. Use Spenta to add Crowley, the Gifted Magistus, just so we can get another level 4 on field to keep that Fairy Tale Luna while special summoning out Wiccat. We can then send Snow and Once Upon a Fairy Tale, sending itself back from the graveyard. Let's use Spenta to equip Artemis, and then use her effect to add another Spenta for follow-up next turn, which we can use as fusion material here, and special summon out the Teller of Fairy Tales. From here, we can use Metamorphosis to bring out the Weaver of Fairy Tales and get that Fairy Tale Luna up for additional disruption, and now we can turn our opponent's monsters into spellcasters. They special summon out Swen. We can negate that with Ash Blossom, but they have Sheena, which could be disastrous unless we negate it with Teller of Fairy Tales. They're firing off everything, which signals to me that they have Forbidden Droplet because they want to use as many card effects as possible while sending pretty much the entire rest of their hand. We can bring back Snow and get that back in our hand so that we can at least follow up on the following turn with her flip face down effect here. It's our turn again, and we have Call by the Grave, but our opponent has likely run out of hand trap cards anyway, so we can summon out Snow, special summon Magic Guru, add Fairy Tale Ball, and use Spenta again, but they don't want us to do that, so they destroy Snow, but I was basically baiting that out because I wanted Snow in the graveyard, because of course she can always bring herself back by banishing 7 cards. Let's add that Fairy Tale Luna back from banishment. It's kind of incredible you can do that, and we can bring out another Weaver of Fairy Tales, get another 1850 on field. We can attack directly with everything. I actually miscooked here and attacked Sheena, but it turns out to be fine because of course we have Snow, and we can use her effect to special summon herself back, and we get an additional trigger off of the Quick Play spell and can attack directly, closing out the game and showing just how much this deck can recover from a board breaker like Sheena. Now that we've seen what Fairy Tale can do going first, it's good to show off a game going second where we are up against Kewl Tune, which is still a top deck thanks to Hydraulis Symphonia. They normal summon out Q, special summon Rotary, turn that into the track mixer, and they get a look at my hand and they get to control what I draw off the top. They send our Crowley to the banishment. They bring out JJ Kewl Tune and Kewl Tune Mix for that extra normal summon, adding Kewl Tune Reco, and then they end on Kewl Tune Remix. And isn't that 2 tuners and we have super polymerization in our hand and turn priority? Yeah, let's use that and discard the quick play spell that we get to add back so we can special summon out the Sea Monster of Theseus and add the Once Upon a Fairy Tale back to our set spell and trap card zone. Let's use Magic Guru on our normal summon, and they have Droll Lockbird, which is a bit of a pain, but we can respond with Vera Magic to at least get into Zora, Magistus of Flame. They decide to negate that with Effect Failure, and so we can finally punish, taking away their last monster card, and use Tales of the Fairy Tales for some extra damage here. Attack with everything that we have, leaving them down to 1,440 life points. And now I feel good about special summoning out Teller of the Fairy Tales so that we can get a negate live for their following turn, because they might draw something useful off the top. They activate JJ Kewl Tune and pretty much scoop from there. I know it says it's a connection lost, but if you turn off your phone, you do lose on only one interaction. Next up, we have a duel against one of the major combo decks in Master Duel, Elfnote. We are going first, and we can start things off with that instant fusion that we've luckily drawn as a one of. From activating that, we can bring out the Weaver of Fairy Tales, which allows us to special summon from our deck, unless they have Ash Blossom, but we can luckily respond with Vera Magic to bring out Zoroa, the Magistus of Flame anyway, normal summoning Fairy Tale Luna, adding the Magic Guru, and they have Droll Lockbird. This is going to be tricky. Let's bring out Artemis so that we have an extra card in the graveyard when we send Snow to our graveyard with Fairy Tale Wicket, but of course the snow is stuck in hand, so I have to send Match Giru and the Teller of Fairy Tales, but we can use it to get snow into our graveyard with a fusion summon, bringing out the Teller of Fairy Tales from there. The opponent starts things off. They've got 3 cards to try to break this with. We can use Once Upon a Fairy Tale, bring out Fairy Tale Snow. We know that main monster zone is important to them. Now it's time to use the negate. They cleared out their main monster zone though, so this last card is going to have to be something. Unfortunately, it's Metis the Pure. They try to bring out the Fiendsmith card in the form of this Light Fiend Armadeus, so I have to bounce that with Fairy Tale Luna while we have the chance. They send a card off of their Elfnote Continuous Trap and add Elfnote Regina with their other Elfnote. They bring out the Power Patron, and now they can special summon the strongest synchro monster, Baronne de Fleur. They add Regina back to their hand, and they get a pop off of Baronne de Fleur and get to do some damage to us at the same time. But luckily, that is one negate to play through, and we can use Fairy Tale Snow from the graveyard to set it face down. And I don't even have to chain block here because their activated effects are stopped by Wicket. So it doesn't even matter that they tried to negate Fairy Tale Snow, and we can put it face down and not have anything to worry about except for this Elfnote Lucina, but it can't even negate anything because they don't have a Synchro face up on their field anymore. With Match Giru and Fairy Tale Ball, we can add Fairy Tale Luna, and from there turn their monster into Prince of Fairies so that we get the full effect from fusion summoning off the Teller of Fairy Tales here, and we get to destroy everything on their field and inflict damage to them at the same time, as you can see right here. And now we have more than enough damage with that last Luna to close out the game. That settles it. This deck is awesome. So we're back with the deck list, and I think that those games showed off how Fairy Tale is a dynamic control strategy that can compete with the combo decks that are so dominant in Master Duel right now. If anything, I wish that we had Jenny of the Ring or the new Endymion support to help supplement this strategy like it has in the TCG, but I'd be happy to revisit this deck when those cards release here in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. For now, that'll do it for this video. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already so I can make more of these, and I'll catch you all in the next one.